We're there. There we go. We're on YouTube. We are on YouTube. Great. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
I don't think anybody can hear me. Let's see. Okay, I think that everybody can hear us now. So what we're going to have to do is copy and paste this into Facebook, and they're just going to have to go there. Yeah?
Sounds good. I'm just on the outside looking in.
Okay. So we want this one, and we're going to go, let me put it in Facebook. All right, let's see. Disconnect. Can you still see me?
Yeah.
Okay. Not now.
Not now. Not ever.
Okay, so let me copy this piece. All right. Due to some computer shit, we had to change the live to YouTube.
Click the link and join. Now, suckers. Sucker motherfuckers.
Come on over. Oh, it says it's not freaking found. I swear, I just quit. I don't think that that's it. How do I go about share? Oh, right here. Copy. And here we go. Here we go. This is so annoying. So we're live, obviously. Oh, it generated. I think we're good. Hold on. I'll do it again.
Oh, shit.
Okay, I don't know that. There we go.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. So do I. I was telling the kids that when I first heard about Smash Mouth, and because I didn't hear any of their music, I saw their appearance, and I thought they were this badass like rap metal band.
Yep.
And so I was like, oh hell yeah, this band's gonna be fucking awesome. And when I heard the song, I'm like, bro,
you're like, ner.
the fuck.
All right, so I think we did it. Please check your video resolution.
Lucian, what?
Healthy. Okay, the stream health is excellent.
We're excellent. No
All
COVID.
right. Live chat. Remember. Okay, we're good with this.
Oops.
Okay. Okay, so I believe we are good. Page. Okay, so I know that it was shared to. Dang, why? This took an hour. Actually, it took like 2 days to figure out. Stupid llamas. Yep. I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna fucking master this streaming software. I'm gonna fucking master that shit. Yep. Some bullshit. There we go. Due to some computer shit, we had to switch to YouTube. Come on over. Okay. Okay, so here we are again. I apologize Wait, is my mute button? YouTube, come on over. I was muted. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so here we are again. I apologize for. Wait, is my mute button? YouTube, come on over. I was muted. Okay.
Is that a delay on it?
Yes, it is. Okay, so you hear it playing back
again. When you stop talking, yeah.
Okay, I'll just mute it. Wait, can you hear me though?
I can hear you fine.
Wait, will they be able to hear me on YouTube?
Not if you mute the feed.
Son of a B words. I promise.
All of a sudden, it's radio edit.
Let me see.
Are you logging onto YouTube to find it?
Yeah. Wait, can you hear me though? Oh.
I can hear you fine.
Wait, will they be able to hear me on YouTube?
Not if you mute the feed.
No, they can hear me.
They can hear you.
Yes.
All of a sudden, it's radio.
Oh man, that's funny. Okay, we got this. We look funkified. I can't. Hold on. Join us for podcast talk and spooky story sharing. Okay, here we go. All right, we are finally up and running. Okay, so again, I apologize. I'm not even in advance to go live with people anymore, and I didn't know that. I've done it 1,000 times in the past. That's why I was kind of resting assured that I was able to do it. But anyway, we can't do it. The streaming sucks to Facebook, so we are able to live stream to YouTube on my YouTube channel. I don't know the name. Maybe Anna Romero, maybe Goddess Guidance. I don't know. But we're here. You guys have the link. So we're doing this.
Haters.
Okay. So we are coming on. First, I am Anna Romero. I am behind the page Goddess Guidance. And my brother is live with me today, Tino Romero. And he is the creator and the voice behind the Graveyard Grumbler podcast. So introduce yourself and let's get into it. Tell us about your podcast.
Tell us about the podcast. That's always fun. Well, the podcast was initially put on just to have a platform for me to say whatever I felt like saying. And so it evolved into a very passionate hobby for me. So I don't have a specific topic that I talk about, but I am fascinated with aliens, paranormal, conspiracies, cults, serial killers, and everything else in that kind of taboo category. And just as recently, not about a couple months ago, I decided to add some spooky stories in it, and that's now that spooky stories went from weekly to every 2 to 3 weeks, since I have to write everything, and it takes a while to come up with good shit. So I enjoy the Grumbler podcast. It's fun.
So I noticed that, okay, so you said it takes a while for you to come up with stuff. Number one, how do you find the motivation to do so? And number two, how is it that you decide what it is that you're going to be talking about? What is it you're going to, how does that process, what does that process look like for you?
The process for what I'm going to talk about, I wish I had something cool and extravagant way of thinking, but I'll sit there and see a commercial or listen to something. I'm like, oh shit, hey, I remember someone mentioned about this conspiracy. Let me look it up. Oh, I'm going to talk about that. Just like when my Antichrist episode that I just released, I was listening to Marilyn Manson, and the record 1996 came on, and
yes.
the hook is, anti-people, you've gone too far. So I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put out an episode. So it's pretty much whatever I think about, or if the kids and me are talking about something, they're interested or curious about it, then I'll look it up as well.
So you mentioned that if the kids talk about it, you will look it up as well. Now, are you in the future, because I know you don't do it now, but in the future, are you going to at some point incorporate them into your podcast process, like give them a space for them to come in and either create with you or create something with you, or in addition, meaning standalone but with you?
We're actually talking about starting a whole separate podcast, us four of us. So it'll be the girls and me, and all three of them really into paranormal. So they want to focus primarily on just paranormal stuff, to where we go hunt different places here around Texas, maybe even outside of out of Texas, and then either record everything and just put it through a feed on a podcast, or watch supposed haunted houses and destroy the facts and fictions and our thoughts and feelings on it. But it would be a completely different podcast from the Graveyard Grumbler podcast. I don't want the Grumbler podcast to be associated with whatever I start with the kids, because that's not fair for them.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't want them, like, I won't even call myself the Graveyard Grumbler. It'll be just my Tino or Dad or whatever we decide on the title, but I'm not going to have that umbrellaed over them. That way, if they ever want to take it off or do something by themselves, it's not affecting me, and whatever I do doesn't affect them.
So we can look forward to more podcasts from you guys and you and the family, correct?
Yes.
That is exciting. I cannot wait, because I know, obviously, that I know them. They're my nieces, and I know that they have all the creative juices running through them, and I know that they're excited to go check out haunted places and everything. And by the way, when you go, I would like you guys to spend the night at a haunted hotel and then get back to me. I personally won't do it. I don't think I'm at that place yet, because I don't like things touching me that I can't see. So if something touched me, I'm gonna be out. So
well, there's actually a hotel out in Texas. It's here close to us. It's about 2 hours away, where I believe you can spend a night there, and it's one of the most haunted hotels in that area. So
is it close to you?
It's about 2 hours away from us.
Oh, right on.
It's not crazy far, but it's not really close. And it's, you say about things touching you, when you close your eyes in the dark and you can't see it, something touches you, you don't freak out like when the kids touch you. So
that's different when the kids touch me, because I know that there's bodies and there's people taking up that physical space. It's different when, if I'm spending the night in the hotel, it's just me, or Aisha's on the other bed, and I'm physically aware that she's in the other space, and then I get touched by things. I don't know. I don't know how I would feel about that. I personally don't want it to happen to me, so that's out.
You're thinking too physically. We're all energy, and that's all that's touching you is energy.
Yeah,
so
but
you get over the fear.
Okay, no, you get over the fear. Don't make up stories about me getting over something, because that's just not going to happen. Not at least now with the touching. Okay, so again, you came out with this podcast, and it was you came out with it. I would say about 2 months ago, maybe 3, or am I tripping?
You're tripping. I started in January.
Oh, my bad. Okay, so you started in January, which is a fresh start to the year. And even in the midst of all this chaos, I won't speak the name because I don't like to give it any more energy than it already has. And even throughout, in the midst of all this chaos, you continue to post. To post, to record. And it seems like, because everybody's in the midst of all this crazy stuff, that podcasts right now get a little bit more attention. Probably a lot more attention from people, because more people are staying home, or at least they were supposed to be staying home. Did you find that your downloads kind of spiked in the midst between like March and now, or have you just seen it just like a general climb overall?
I've just seen it as a steady increase overall. I haven't had any spike in numbers since in March. I was still freshly new onto the platforms, so the steady rise I could attribute, of course, to everyone staying home, and when people are chilling and don't want to watch video or laying in bed, and they can just play a podcast and help them fall asleep, which doesn't mind. I mean, if I can soothe someone to sleep, then that's a bonus for me. But I haven't really noticed a spike in downloads because of the whole shit that's going on right now.
That's interesting, but it's good that it's been a steady climb for you, a steady increase. That's very good, because I think it shows true interest, and not just like episodic interest in the sense of like we're going through this episode of shit right now. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad that you are here, and I'm glad that you created the podcast, because I know, like you mentioned, you enjoy writing and you have your whole life, but you really didn't have the opportunity to let that shine, or to get allow your creativity to show. And now that you've done that with the podcast, and I've seen your notes, obviously, when you show me the notebook and everything, I see it. So I know there is sincere research going into all this, and not just like, oh, I skimmed Google, I saw this, and I'm just kind of go. I'm gonna kind of share things based off headlines I've read, because you know how people do that sometimes. They kind of skim and they don't necessarily research, and then that's when they end up looking really dumb because they just didn't do the research. But anyway, I know that you're doing all this research, and there is a lot of effort behind every episode that you post. So I'm glad that you did that. I'm very excited, especially because you're my brother, and I'm always excited that my siblings start to allow their creativity to pop out. Now we just have to wait for our sister to do her thing and get
Yeah.
started on that, because I know it's coming, and that's very exciting too, because we'll definitely be incorporating her creative thing, because I don't want to
Yeah.
speak it if she doesn't mention it, but we're definitely going to be incorporating her creativeness into what we do as well. So that's exciting. Very, very exciting.
Yep. Got to plug her too.
Yes. So the other half of this live stream is talking about our paranormal experiences, correct? Now,
Correct.
we previously, when we were on live on Instagram, we did share some experiences, and those were really, we kind of started from our childhood and kind of moved our way up to not the present, but more present than when we were younger. And we talked about some adult experience and everything, but I have some new stuff to share, some things that have taken place since then. But overall, let's just, because I'm sure nobody, a lot of people weren't on the live for Instagram. Let's talk about some of the experiences that we have had.
Overall, or
Yeah,
since
just
the beginning?
and whichever ones
Well,
seem to stick out.
the other night when I was at work, I was talking to my partner, and I actually forgot about when I first moved out to Seattle, and I was about 5 years ago, and I was doing security there, and the route that I had was in South Seattle, which is just it's Seattle, but there's I don't know what a nunnery. It's not. Is that what it's called? Where they house nuns and teach them how to be nuns? Is it called a nunnery?
It's
A convent. There you go. Yeah, I don't know if it was like a hatchery or whatever it's called,
No,
but
it's a convent.
so my job when I was security officer, I would drive to that area and I'd walk the entire church and rooms where they stayed to make sure that there's no creepers. Because I mean, you have a whole building full of women, people are going to try to peep and creep. So I would walk the entire thing. Well, right, it was about I don't know about 200 yards from the church where the buildings where the nuns slept at, and then like another 40 feet past, it was just this open field, like a garden where people just hung out, and then there was just like this shack, but it had a door and the light was on, and so I would walk. Oh, I'm thinking it was the priest or someone else that stayed there. Not a big deal. Well, one night I saw there was a guy standing outside, just looking around, and I waved. He waved, and I was like, all right. I figured he was dressed in black, and I thought, oh, this was a priest, or he's a priest in training. So I just walked away. And one night I went morning. Well, I'll say about a week later, when I first saw that guy, I got an alarm code, so I had to go respond out there to go make sure that nothing was broken. If there was, report it, whatever.
This is nighttime or daytime?
When I saw the guy in the black, it was nighttime.
Okay.
And when I went to go respond to the code, it was daytime. And then I saw the groundskeeper there, and I was walking. I was checking. I was like, "Hey, man, I got a code." He's like, "Yeah, that was me. I set it off." And I said, "Oh, cool." And then we were walking by the little shed. And I said, "Hey, who stays here?" And he looks at me. He said, "What do you mean, who stays here?" I said, "Man, I was here like 3 days ago, and there's a guy standing in black right here with the light on, right underneath the light." He's like, "Man, this shed has been locked for like the past 5 years. Nobody has a key to it. And since it doesn't bother anybody, we just left it there. We haven't even tried to open it. There's no point of tearing it down because it's not bothering anybody." And I personally took out all the electrical wiring to the shack from the outside. That way, no fires start from it. I said, "Wait a minute. You're telling me that no one lives in here? The lights don't work in this fucking shack." But the other night, I saw this dude in black standing underneath the light where the door is at. He's like, "Dude, I don't know what you saw." I said, "No, man, I know what I saw. I wasn't doing, it was not even that late at night, and you're telling me nothing in this thing works." He's like, "Man, no, I don't know what you're talking about." So I'm like, "All right, whatever, man." So about a week later, I saw another groundskeeper, and I told him the same thing, and he told me the same exact thing. "Man, the electricity doesn't run through here. Who the hell did you see? Did you go ask who it was?" No, I didn't go ask who it was. Why am I going to go ask when I'm thinking that this fool lives here? And so, yeah, I forgot about that one. That was when I first moved out to Seattle.
So now you said you kind of saw this man in black. Did you see an actual physical being wearing black, or did you just see the figure of a man like being dark in black because he was behind in front of the light? Which one was it?
I saw a distinguished figure of a man, but you couldn't see his details since he was standing just outside of the light, but not completely into the darkness where the garden was at. So, but it was clearly it looked like a person, just like you and me, just a regular person standing there dressed in black. And I mean, what do priests wear? They wear fucking black. I mean, I figured they wear pajamas. They wear black pajamas too. So what? That's what I figured. I mean,
How do you know they wear black pajamas? Stop it.
because that's all they wear is
You
the
don't
rope
know
things.
that.
See, I'm gonna Snopes it. Is it Snoops or Snopes? But yeah, that's
Nope.
so that was my. I forgot about that one in Seattle about the that dude out there or priest or I don't know what. I really don't know what it was, and I was not gonna go check it out because we've all seen horror movies.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Have you seen is it the second Conjuring? I think it's one of the Annabelles or the Conjuring because you know how they both intertwine with each other. Well, one of them shows it's about a nunnery, and it's the one with the white faced nun, the dead one. The what is it called? The Nun. It's called the Nun.
The Nun. Yeah,
Nun. Have you seen that movie?
I did, and I wasn't. And I don't remember it because I wasn't too impressed by it.
Okay, so that movie is obviously about a nun, and it takes place primarily at a nunnery. And at the end, or kind of in the middle of scenes, they show a shack where the guy delivers vegetables and food and stuff. But what you're describing is exactly what that looks like, with the exception of seeing someone in front of it. But what you're describing, the nunnery, the nun compound, so to speak, and the little shack is parts of that movie. So you should watch the rest of that movie so that you can see what I'm talking about, because it's going to resonate with you in terms of like those two things, but not necessarily because of the black figure.
That's bullshit.
You chose two of the most haunted locations to live in. You lived in Seattle, and then you're now in Texas. That is like the what do they call it? The hubbub or the hub of paranormal activity.
Well, allegedly, from what out in Seattle, there's a place out there in Queen Anne. It's real famous. It's called Queen Anne. It's a city. It's a little town.
Oh.
And there's a huge bridge that runs across Lake Washington, I want to say, or is it Lake Union? I can't remember, but it's a big ass bridge, like 30, 40-foot drop. It's called Suicide Bridge because people walk over there. People walk over there and commit suicide. Now, allegedly, if you're driving through there, you can see shadows falling off of the side of the bridge. And if you're walking, you can hear screaming, apparently.
Yikes.
I drove with my windows rolled up when I drove there at night.
So you've driven over the bridge. You've driven the bridge.
Oh, yeah. Oh, heck yeah. All the time.
I can't do it. I won't be able to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have a choice. I had to get across the lakes. I don't have a hoverboat. So.
Do you think that if you had a hoverboat that you would still see the shadows?
I actually wanted to
kind
go.
Of see them from what I'm asking is it more of a only if you're on the bridge, like going over the bridge type thing, or if you're going through the water or on the water, would you still be having some sort of paranormal experiences, in regard to the jumpers?
From what I've read and what people have confirmed is that it's only when you're driving by the bridge. You see kind of one of those, you see it out of your peripheral vision, you see something falling out. And when you look, you can just see like the end of the shadow fall off the bridge.
And you didn't see any at that time?
I didn't because it wasn't late enough, I don't think. It was usually in the late evening or early morning that I drive by and not like the witching hour of...
The witching hour.
Why is it the witching hour? Why do they call it that? That's the devil's hour.
You know what? There's different versions and different explanations, and I've heard them both. I've heard if you wake up between 1 and 3 in the morning, or 2 and 4 in the morning. Primarily 3. 3 in the morning is like it's the time that's the time when the veil is the thinnest and all the creepers and the spookies, they come out. And that's when they come out the most, right? Like bad stuff or just creepy stuff in general. But at the same time, I've heard that from people from a more general spiritual path, like the one I'm currently on. But at the same time, people on the more religious path, which we obviously also have experience in, I've heard, well, that's the time of the angels and God comes out, communicates and stuff like that. So I've heard both versions of it, but more the one about like the creepy stuff come out and mess with stuff and everything.
You know what's about the whole creepy stuff and religion thing? I'm going to throw a plug on my podcast on my last episode. For the
That's what we're here for. This is for your podcast. Spill it. Plug it.
Which I didn't realize, and I just learned it. 'Cause part of my episodes, I don't know what I'm talking about. I do the research and share it as brand new when I first do it. It's not something I've known about for years, like baseball. I will never put out an episode about baseball because I know a lot about it. It's not fun to me to talk about. So all the topics I know nothing about or very little, and I need to do more research. So when I share it, my enthusiasm is just as like, oh my gosh, check this out, you know. But the pentagram. Did you know that that was actually a Christian religious emblem?
Vaguely, but yes, I remember hearing like something about it.
It initially was to represent the five wounds of Jesus. Oh, there's my wife.
Hi, Teresa.
I brought you a screen.
What's that?
I brought you a computer screen.
Cool. But it's the five.
What did
the
she buy me?
She bought us my computer screen for my computer that I just got.
Oh. Teresa said hi. Hi, Teresa.
She said hi.
E.
Look at, she just waved at you. You missed it.
Hold, please. The phone's ringing.
She's waving at you.
Yeah, but she can't hear me because you have the earphones on, nerd.
Right, but she's waving at you.
Well, I can't see her because she's on the side unless she leaned over like she just did. There she goes. See, I can see her now.
But it's the pentagram, the star was initially for the 5 wounds that Jesus has suffered, which were, everybody knows, the wrist, ankle, side. And then the circle around it was the pentacle to hold, and it was like a protective circle to protect the holiness of the whole meaning behind the pentagram. But as the masonries, the Masons decided to work on a lot of cathedrals, they started getting a lot of credit and putting the pentagram symbols as, paying homage or homage. I'm not French, so it's to the religious factor of the church. And then the Masons were getting too much recognition, too much credit. So the church basically said, "Fuck you, that's related to evil," and it became Satan's.
Because they took the spotlight, right?
Yes. See, I didn't know that.
I
put
either.
that in the episode.
I don't like the pentagram in general. Not because it's good or bad. I just don't like it. I don't like the way it looks. I don't use it for anything. I don't like it. And honestly, when I come across pages that use it, or I see, paraphernalia or something or literature, I'm not interested. I just have no desire to look at it, to share it, to read anything about it. I'm just not interested. And I find myself being more and more adamant about that these days. Because, in the past you're like, oh, it's whatever. It bothers me, I guess, and I don't really know why. So
I just got it tattooed on my lower back.
Well, now we have to get matching ones. Look, can you see the chat, the YouTube chat? You cannot. You're blind, huh?
I cannot see anything. Well, I'm on the outside.
I'm on the outside looking in.
That's shout out to Green Eyes.
Oh my God. Time out. Speaking of Green Eyes, I have learned, nothing about her. I have learned that our Theo Rock is soon to be released.
Yeah, my mom told me that.
Yeah, I don't know any dates or any specifics, but I'm excited.
I think we should have a party with strippers and cocaine.
I think we should probably leave out the ladder.
Well, yeah, he's too old to climb them, so leave the ladders out.
That's full. I'm done with you. We're not talking about Theo Rock anymore. We're moving on to something else. But anyway, when you were talking about the bridge, Elizabeth said that Chris had told her about that bridge. Chris tells us a lot of weird stories about when he goes places. It's weird and creepy and gross, and it's some crazy shit about how, the rules and the laws of, men versus women in a lot of overseas countries and stuff. And he says he has seen some shit, like some crazy shit. And he tells us a little bit about it because, it's graphic, but he has definitely shared a lot of his stories with us.
Yeah, that's the downside of traveling with the military.
Yep. So, where do I start? Okay. I posted on my personal Facebook. Did you see when I posted the documentary that's that you can find on Amazon Prime?
Yeah, I was actually going to talk to you about that.
Did you watch it?
No, I haven't. I haven't really had time. I've been so busy the last few days. I mean, but
look at you, color me busy.
Before I even watched it, I was reading a story / urban legend type thing where that guy is called the Suicide Shadow. So whenever he comes up here, I don't know if it relates to the documentary, but I was going to put that on your Facebook, but it was too much to type out, so I wanted to wait for the live. But I'm glad you brought it up. And I was reading that whenever you see that, he just drains your energy, tells you how worthless you are and how meaningless you are to life, and you should just kill yourself and make the world happy. And a lot of people have confirmed seeing that same exact shadow that the documentary's about and that you posted about on your Facebook, seeing that this person, this shadow comes out and forces people to kill themselves.
And the documentary, see, I found it. Okay, let me back up a little bit. On this recently, we were talking with Marcos. Like me and my sister, all of us were out hanging out, talking with Marcos, our brother, our little brother Marcos, and even oh no, Elizabeth wasn't there. And he finally opened up about his paranormal experiences, which is eventually I'd like to bring him on. Now that I can do this fancy schmancy thing right here, I think I'm able to bring him on too if I can figure it out. But he was opening up about his paranormal experiences. Uh-oh. I'm timing out. Something's happening. Okay. He was opening... Elizabeth, is the feed still coming through? Fine? Can you let me know? Because I got like the circle thing, so I don't know if that's on YouTube or if it's on my live stream. Anyway, so YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain a smooth... As such, viewers will experience buffering. Okay, so they're going to experience some buffering. Anyway.
Swole.
Okay. Oh, now it's poor. Why?
Goddamn globalists keeping us down.
My stream health is poor, and I'm not sure why. I'm over here looking through the little settings like I know what I'm doing. Like, let me check it out.
Hold on. When I dabbled in the IT field for a little while, it's coming back to me.
Well, hopefully it's coming through okay. But anyway, so he was opening up about his paranormal experiences, and although I want him to tell his about the weird lady and everything, he talked about the shadow person. We have a shadow person in our house, and we call him Pablo. Pablo just hangs out. Sometimes you'll see him. We'll see him crossing. Primarily, my mom and Aisha. They will see him walking through the hallways, to her room from the bathroom, or in the kitchen. We can hear his footsteps, the door. He drops loaves of bread for some odd reasons, and that's it. That's the majority of it. I thought we have called him like he's the shadow man too, but when I started seeing this documentary, and also Marco said that his experience with the shadow man is exactly how they describe it in that documentary. He was the one that told me to watch it, and he was like, you should have seen him. He was so lit, just like completely lit up about how right it was with how his experiences that he could barely even talk. He called me, put me on speakerphone the whole night. So I finally watched the whole thing, and it's crazy because that is not the experience that we have with the shadow man, or at least who we thought was the shadow man, because we call him Pablo, but we don't have those experiences with him. He's not evil. He doesn't scare us. He's just roaming around the house, hanging out, being stuck to my mom, because that's how he came about, was with my mom. So it blew my mind because we didn't have those experiences at all, not even a little bit. I've never experienced anything that's in that documentary whatsoever. But I asked Aisha what she has seen, because recently, okay, so one night I was asleep. I went to sleep early, and it was about 1-ish, and she stomps into my room and she says, Mom, and I said, yes. I said, I'm sleeping. She's like, Mom, can you go in the kitchen and tell that lady to stop following me, to stop looking at me, please? I'm like, what lady? She's like, the one in the kitchen. She just won't leave me alone. She won't stop following me. She won't stop looking at me. I'm like, you want me to get up out of my sleep to go to the kitchen and tell some creepy ass ghost to leave you alone? I said, why don't you do it? She's like, ask her what she wants. I'm like, Aisha, you can do it. She's like, I did, but she won't leave me alone. She just keeps following me. So I'm like, I'm not going to get up, Aisha. You just have to leave the kitchen or something. So then she says, well, can you at least go in there and tell those people in the washroom to stop staring at me? Can you at least do that, please? Because they're bothering me too. I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? So I told her, I was like, I'm not getting up to do it. You're going to have to go tell those people to leave you alone because I'm sleeping. I'm not getting up. Okay. That was that, right? She canceled out the kitchen. She was toasting marshmallows on the stove on the fire, and apparently they were just pissing her off. So the next day, I got her up to tell us about it, and she was saying that the lady that's following her, because I don't physically see things, but I see them in my mind as they happen. So I see there's this lady that I do see in the hallway, and I don't know how old she is or whatever, but she has this white dress on with long dark hair, which we're going to get into that in just a little bit too. But she's never done anything. She just kind of paces back and forth in the hallway. Aisha's experiences, Aisha's my daughter, his goddaughter. This is who we're talking about. She, in the kitchen, she described her as just some older lady that kind of was standing there with her hands down, but like her hands just crossed over, just standing like this close to her, just staring at her. Aisha says she wouldn't completely look at her, but she would kind of do the peripheral vision thing and she can see her. And she said her hair, I think she said it was maybe like medium lengthish, don't quote me on that, but she said she wouldn't do anything. She would just stand there. She wouldn't leave. She wouldn't leave at all. In addition to that, in the washroom, she said that these creepy things just kind of peek around and look at her. They just keep looking at her, and then they go back, and there's like a few of them that do it. And I asked her, I said, okay, so what do they tell you? I said, what do they look like? So she described them as tall, kind of lanky, and she can see the skin color. It's not like their shadow or anything. They're just their actual skin color, but she sees no features at all. She just sees them they come around the washroom, and they peek at her, and it's several of them. When I saw this Shadow Man documentary, they have a picture up there, a drawing, and I showed her, and because our experience with what we thought was a Shadow Man is not bad whatsoever, I showed her this picture, and I said, "What does Pablo look like to you?" And so she showed me. So I'm going to show you the picture. This is what it looks like. I hope you guys can see it. Now, to me, the guy in the hat is how I perceive Pablo. And that is also how my mom and Aisha see him, but they see details of him. They see him as an actual man, not necessarily solid, but like a wispy man with actual, features. And Aisha can like describe the color of his suit with the buttons, the whole nine, okay?
Put it down a little bit, about a quarter inch. There you go. Oh, right there. It's black. There's no screen.
Oh, my bad. Okay. See, so is the glare okay?
Tilt it back a little bit more. And that's good. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys see it? Okay, right there. Okay, so the hat is who we thought was Pablo, and that's who Aisha sees as Pablo, but we don't experience anything negative. Now, let me see. Okay, the first little lanky dude, that's how she sees the people in the washroom, but they're taller and their skin color. That's how she sees them. Those are the ones that come out in the washroom. And she also talked about, because in her closet she says that she has these creepy things that kind of crawl out of her closet and they come out and then they go back in. They don't like go near her around the room or anything. And I asked her, she volunteered this. She said, and because she pointed to the third one, she's like, and those are the creepy crawlers that come out of my closet. And I said, which ones? And she pointed to the ones in the middle. So she has all of this happening around her, and she wants me to go up to tell them to leave her alone.
I mean, there's only the shadow creatures are malevolent. They're not peaceful entities.
That's what I've learned, I guess, with the documentary.
Yeah, that's why when the whole I never pictured or assumed that Pablo was a shadow person, because shadow persons are mean little fuckers. They're not very nice.
I think that according to all that information, then Pablo is not a shadow person at all.
No. And there's only two options now that you have. One is to obviously get an exorcism on the house, and two is to have Mom and Aisha removed from the house.
We don't need an exorcism on the house because there's nothing malevolent in the house. There's nothing evil. There's nothing trying to hurt us. I can cleanse the house. I think that when it's time for an exorcism, that's something that's literally just outside of the realm of anything, and it's going to take like a team of something or people to get it out, okay? We're not at the point of an exorcism whatsoever.
You're thinking of the worst case scenario of the typical textbook of damage, but look at the history of the house and how many people have been bothered, scared, and disturbed by the entities in the house. But just because they're not affecting you or us, it doesn't mean that they're not being mean and hurting people. I mean, they pushed Marlene out of the shower door.
They did not. Although, here's the thing: when she said that she saw Pablo, or what we thought was Pablo, that one day that like all hell broke loose. I saw that too, and he did look like the tall guy with the hat. And Marlene said that's exactly what he looked like, and she also had experienced those feelings that everybody talks about. And that's not how I was scared because I saw a fucking ghost, right? But aside from that, I didn't experience those feelings. I was just scared because I was seeing ghosts. That was it. There was no like all these feelings that people talked about. I didn't experience that. So that tells me that person probably was not Pablo, and Pablo is not a shadow person.
So, from my extensive study abroad at MIT on the paranormal, from my understanding is that everyone who comes in contact with the shadow, or not shadow people, but any entity, period, is going to affect them in different ways. So your fright isn't going to be the same as mine. It's not going to be the same as Marcos's or Marlene, because everyone is carrying some sort of energy that's way different from ours.
Right.
So, like when you said that you weren't scared, that doesn't mean that they weren't being malicious and evil and scaring the shit out of anyone else.
Now, having said that, don't you think we were two people looking at the exact same thing and we experienced it completely different? I understand that things affect people differently. I understand that. But I think it's very interesting that they were literally counter effects. Like, I was neutral, just scared because it was a ghost, but she was experiencing all this evil stuff. And, not that I want to experience, but how come I didn't experience that if we were looking at the exact same entity? You see what I'm saying? And I understand that it's going to affect people differently because we're all different. Like you said, our energy is compiled just differently. I can understand that. But we're looking at the exact same entity and everything was so just opposite. Like I said, I was scared. I was very scared, but not in the same context that Marlene was.
My theory on that, or my theory is that everyone has different evils that they're going through. Your struggle and your issue might not be as grave, depressing, or as a bad situation as the next person. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that your what you're going through at that point of life isn't as fucked up as the other person. So the person who's drained more, who's taxed more, depressed, loathing, and just already is fearful of everything because they don't know what's going to happen, it's going to affect them 20 times worse than the person who has it a little more controlled, who isn't as depressed or isn't struggling as bad as the next person. So when the entity has that power to affect different people, it's because it's just how strong you are and how, what's the word, where you're able to ward off certain things because you have a better, well, not tolerance, but a better force or protection built up because you're in a happier place. So in my opinion, the more depressed you are and how it depends on how sad you are is going to determine on the severity of the effect that you encounter of the malevolent spirits or regular entities. It all depends, because that's my belief, is that if you're happier, you're not going to get affected as bad. But if you're not, it's going to fuck you up.
I agree, because when you said all the, the sad stuff and the depressing stuff or all the, negativity, that's what we call, that's a low vibration. That's low vibrational stuff happening around you. And it is a fact that the lower your vibration, the more negativity or unpleasant or bad things you attract. That's just how it goes. And yeah, it's not a science, but it's a fact, a spiritual entity fact, I guess you should say. Elizabeth said she had a question. What is your question, Elizabeth?
Ask, please.
She said, I have a question, and then she waves her hand and says, I never seen them. Her next comment says, I was only scared to stay at mom's because you guys always talked about it. Okay, but that's not your question. What's your question, Chickadee?
Yeah, you in the back. Your hand raised.
Yes.
When you first pulled that cup out, I thought you were drinking a Bud Light through a straw. I thought you were drinking a tall boy.
No, thank you. My sister gave me this cup. And it is the best cup to keep my water very, very cold, and I love it. I drink a lot of water, so I'm constantly having to refill it.
It's okay, Santos. I don't want one.
So she hasn't asked her question, but now, going back to the house, I am going to do a cleansing on the house in order for us to really clear out. Okay, here's the thing. Because me, my mom, and Aisha are who we are in terms of the, the gifts that we were just created with, that we were born with, we're constantly going to be attracting spirits. Spirits are constantly going to be around us. They're constantly going to be, going through the house, whatever the case may be. But the ones that stick around for no reason are the ones that we either have to help to cross over, because my mom has the gift of being able to cross people over. Aisha has the gift of everything, so I really feel for her because she gets all of it, the brunt of it, and I don't. Mine comes in different ways. I don't necessarily physically see things, but I see them mentally. I see them in my head. Anyway, so we're going to do a cleansing. Me and my mom are going to do the cleansing together. And we're going to clear out the house, and we're going to fill the space with positivity, because because sage is like the spiritual Clorox. It'll clean everything out, but now your space is empty, so you're going to have to fill it with something positive. And that's usually when you use a different herb or, candles or whatever the case may be. So we're going to do that, and we're just going to have to keep doing it every few months and stuff because that's just how it's going to be. I mean, it's like cleaning your house regularly. You can't just clean it once and then never clean it again. You just have to keep cleaning it as necessary. So Elizabeth's question is, why didn't I see them?
When you try too hard to see something because you hear talking about it, you're not going to see it.
Yes.
It's gonna come unexpectedly when you're not wanting to see it. So every time you go to mom's house and you're expecting to see it, it's like when you go whale hunting, you're expecting to see a goddamn whale, you're not going to see it.
Did you say whale hunting? Don't hunt whales.
Yeah, I mean whale watching. Not
hunting. I was like, don't hunt whales.
I'm vegan. I can't hunt whales. What are you? But when you go whale watching, and the minute you bend down to give your kid something to eat or tie your shoe, the goddamn whale pops up. So you can't go in expecting it because it's not going to see it. So it's a game that entities like to play, which is a legitimate thing that I've read, where they can feel that you're wanting to see them, and they'll be like, "Ha, not today, homie.
Yep,
not today."
Literally.
So it's the more you're trying to see it, the less you're ever going to see it. It just has to come organically. I hate that word,
but it fits.
Yeah, au naturel.
Yes.
Les French.
And people tend to think or to believe or feel that they're powerless against entities. I don't know how I feel about saying that word. My T's and my N's. Entities.
Yeah,
entities.
You're putting too much Zacatecas on it.
Entidades. Oh, sucker. I may or may not have messed up the NTs on there too. But anyway, people tend to believe, think, and feel that they're powerless. That, oh my God, this shit is happening. I don't know what to do. You decide what happens to you. Granted, there are forces that are beyond us, and that's a different story. But in like everyday life or everyday situations, we get to set the rules. We can let folks know, no, you're not going to come around and mess with me today. No, it's not going to happen. So you have the ability to clear out your aura and to keep your space safe. Your spiritual space, your physical space, you have that because there's no rule in the world at all that says once something starts messing with you, that's it. You have to surrender. That's not how it works. That you have all the control that you need to maintain a safe space, so to speak. But I know that fear tends to capture us and tends to disable us a little bit because we're like, oh my God, that, like you said, the energy I can't see at the hotel just pulled my foot. Now people if they get pulled off, I get pulled off of bed and shit. That's a different story. That's way different. That's a whole, I don't know what I would do. But people, we're not powerless against these things at all.
It depends on me. I mean, yeah, I can see the you're not powerless, but at the same time, if you don't know what you're dealing with, you're never going to know how to deal with them. I mean, you're powerless because you don't know what. I mean, when it happens, you can't prepare yourself. It's not like you can pregame and have a fighting unless you're aware and willing to go through that spiritual fight.
But sometimes you don't even need to do that, though. That's not. But you don't need to do that.
And that's my question. That's where I'm going to come out with my question. I had to build it up, dramatic. But it's okay. So you're talking about cleaning the house, okay? About cleansing the house and all that other stuff. But where you need to keep a positive space and all this other stuff. But in order to do that, you would have to completely seal yourself away from the outside world.
No,
meaning
you don't. That's not the case. Nope.
Well, you're not letting me answer my question because everyone is holding evil, negative energy and burdens with them. So by bringing them into a freshly cleansed house, wouldn't that taint your space and invite more to undo what's already done?
Yes and no. Yes, because when you do a cleansing, well, for us, we spiritually protect our house. We have things strategically placed in our house for the reason of protection. Meaning, if somebody comes in with horrible, like they got some shit on their aura, like they come in and they're angry, they can come in and visit, but it's not going to stay because we have our house spiritually protected. Yes, eventually we have to do it again, but for the most part, that's how it functions. Yes, you come in contact with people every single day, but you also have the power to protect yourself personally and as an individual. I have, things on my keychain. I have things in my purse. My mom, we have things everywhere that serves that purpose. So if we go out somewhere, we go into this house and we're like, something ain't right, something is floating around here, it's not going to leave with us. It's not going to attach to us. I mean, it can realistically, but it won't for the most part because we protect ourselves spiritually. We I ensure, well, my mom has been doing it to us, but we all ensure that we are doing what we can to spiritually protect ourselves. And when we have to fight a little bit harder to, kind of scrape things off of us, then we go to a different step to do that. But it's not necessarily a fight per se. You don't necessarily have to know what it is that you're dealing with for the most part to be able to understand how to fight it. You don't have to do that. It's a matter of protecting your personal spiritual space to begin with. And it's literally that easy sometimes. Yeah, like I said, there's situations that are a little bit more extreme. Obviously exorcisms exist, so you know that it can get pretty bad, right? But for the most part, starting with protecting your home and your personal space and your family, that's literally where it starts. It's sometimes that easy. But like I said, fear kind of disables us and leads in it, and then we start to feel like we're powerless against whatever's happening. The entidades.
I opt for the sea bear circle for SpongeBob.
This, and it's something similar, kind of, so
Yeah,
to speak.
exactly.
You know
I
what
know
I'm
you
saying?
have to protect your little space. That's why I
Yes.
threw that in there.
Yes.
I was the whole Pablo thing. I've seen things similar to what you've described, but I've never actually seen a form of an actual man. I've seen forms of people.
What is?
But
Explain that to me. People versus. I don't
so
understand.
so you clearly say a man in a top hat that has masculine looking features, tall, broad shoulders, a hat. The most women aren't going to wear hats, like a top hat, like you showed in the picture, you know. But what I have seen were just people, just forms of. It could be a woman, it could be a man, but it's clearly a person.
I see.
That has walked in and around my mom's house. But the worst thing that actually made me get sober for about 3 weeks when I was in high school was that there was this goddamn black dog that posted up in front of our door, or in front of our yard, right by the mailbox in the front yard. That's when Mom worked at H&R Block. You worked. I'm not sure if you were at home or if you worked as well, but you weren't home. It was just me and Marcos for majority of the evening until Mom got home at around 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. But because that's when she was doing like 37 hours a day at H&R Block. So there was this black dog that would stay just sitting. It wouldn't growl. It wouldn't bare its teeth. It wouldn't do it. It just sit there and stare at the house. And it seemed like every time I checked out, walked in, it's like, oh, wait a minute. Why is that there? So I chalked it up as, all the drugs that I was using at the time. So I stopped using. I stopped using for about 5 days to, cleanse my body. So when my mom went back to work, I'm here chilling, and then I just felt weird, like, that feeling where you have something staring at you. I was like, oh, maybe there's someone, a crackhead, trying to, walk by or something. I opened it, and it was the dog sitting there, just sitting. It wasn't licking itself. It wasn't looking around. It wasn't turning its head. It just sit there and stare at the house, the big window. And when I popped the curtain up to the side, why is that dog staring at me?
So were you afraid because this black dog was staring at you, or were you afraid because this black dog was causing fears of fear and evil and bad shit? What was it?
Both.
Interesting. You know what's funny? I don't know if you remember, but Gilbert had that same experience.
No, God damn it, stop texting me, fools.
I was like, what is that?
I'm on live. I'm getting like 7 texts from a person that I told him I asked a question about yesterday.
Well, there you go.
But
see?
No, I didn't know that he had a similar experience.
My mom will tell you the story to the point where my mom literally they were young, they were kids. My mom had to go to the bathroom with him because he was so scared. Like she'd have to sit like on the tub while he, covered himself and used the bathroom because he was so afraid. He was deathly afraid of this dog. And it happened for some years, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if all of a sudden it went. I don't know how it transpired that he ended up going away, but he was terrorized by this dog for a long time. He was so scared. My mom literally had to go everywhere with him.
Wait. I'm calling my mom out now. This is ridiculous. How in the hell is she going to go help Gilbert take a bath as a kid? But when I told her I was scared, I was told to basically vete pa la fregada and go get dealt with by Satan.
Yes, I know the feeling. I told my mom that. I said, how come is it when we scared you guys? She's like, I believed in you that things were happening. I said, so why didn't you do anything? I'm like, I was scared. But I don't know what her explanation was.
That, you know what? That's ridiculous. Nursing home. I don't appreciate
Elizabeth
That
says,
nonsense.
Elizabeth, after she says, why don't I see them? She says, I don't want to see them. If you don't want to see them, don't worry about why you don't see them.
Don't invite that
Yeah.
juju.
Don't
Because
sit
the
there
more
and Ouija board that shit and be like, what? I want to see the things at mom's house. Don't do that.
now,
Don't do that.
do you believe in the Ouija board?
I
Do you
do.
believe that it actually opens up? It's the prepaid cell phone for this demons, or is it spirits overall?
Spirits overall. The Ouija board, it's just a tool. That's all it is. Just like people think tarot cards are evil. They're not. They're just cards. That's all it is. How you use them is what matters. I use cards to do readings. I don't invite the evil. I don't I don't do that. I just tell you what's coming through for you, and that's it. That's all I can do, right? I mean, I can guide you. I can work on you, like I said, self-empowerment and stuff, but the cards don't do anything other than just help you with the spiritual work that you're doing. The Ouija board can serve the same purpose, but what the Ouija board does, like all spirit boards, they open up portals. They do. They're opening up the door. Now, the problem is when you open the door, you don't have control over who's walking in and out of that door. None whatsoever. That's why people say, if you think you're talking to your great Aunt Martha, don't believe it, because it's true. Anything and everything can come through and you have zero control over it. None whatsoever. That's why things get fucked up. People with more experience that are familiar with working with spirit boards and kind of setting up the stage to maybe do a little bit more filtering in terms of who comes through, that's a different story, and that's a lot of experience that comes. I'm not in that zone whatsoever, but it's possible. But for the most part, you have, teens getting together at the bathroom floor and conjuring up something, or you have adults that are so distraught that they want to get the Ouija board out to talk to their husband, or things along those lines. You have people that are inexperienced doing things that can really fuck them up. So it's not so much, I guess, the board kind of, yes, but it's the fact that it opens up the door. It's a big old double door. It's open, and that's it. You have no control. You have all these kind of different spirits and people and entities and ghosts and everything coming through, and that's it. So you start talking to folks. Oh well, you got stuck with Juan from, the depths of hell, and that you're stuck. You just told Juan that you want to be his friend.
I don't necessarily believe in the Ouija board, but it's not welcomed in my house.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna, even if it's that one small 0.1% chance that shit can really happen. I don't want to test it because I'll get that 0.1%.
Yep. I'm not in the business of taking those kind of risks. That's not the kind of calculated risk that I want to take in my life.
You mentioned about the cards, how you don't slide into the evil part of the cards. Now, from my understanding is that you said it's through a spiritual nature. So if you're doing a reading on someone and they have imminent, I don't know, not death, but something evil that's going to go after them, how do you filter that, or how do you not receive that transmission to relay to that person? Because you draw the card. If it's something that's evil, how do you put it back and reshuffle? Or
all the cards do is help you figure out what you already are receiving. For example, if I'm coming through like, okay, I got something is heavy, I can't figure out what it is. Let me get the cards to help me. So if they come up and it says relationship, the card relationship came up. That tells me that there's an issue in your relationship that you need to address. So the card just kind of clarifies it, because I'm already experiencing that feeling. I'm already experiencing what it is that I need to communicate, but sometimes we need clarification. Sometimes we need a little bit of help, right? How are you able to talk to my grandpa? I know you relay we'll get into that. Elizabeth says, how are you able to talk to my grandpa? I know you relay messages to my mom sometimes. I'll get to that in just a second. So that's how the cards work. If there is something that source is referred to, you can call him God, you can call it the universe, you can call it whatever. I refer to it sometimes as source, sometimes as spirit. When source comes, source is going to tell me whatever it is that I need to tell that person. If it's something that I need to be careful with, I'm going to communicate. If it's something that I don't do predictions. I stay away from predictions because I'm in a place where free will plays a major role in our lives. So I don't feel like I'm qualified to participate in any predictions. I don't want to. That's a tricky road that I don't want to go down. But anyway, source will tell me what it is that I need to convey or what it is I need to communicate. So if source is telling me you need to, let them know because you receive the messages differently. I receive them sometimes as a feeling. I can smell things, I can hear things, I can like get a feeling, a touch, or a taste, or my head will hurt, or I'll get like flashes of something in my head, like pictures or a scenario, or sometimes words, or sometimes like I'll get, if their guardian angels are coming through, I will literally see people kind of like dressed differently, and I'll see, because sometimes they use like signs, like they'll say, "Tell her to stop," and they'll hold up the sign, "Stop, stop, stop." So I have to convey that. So if something is coming through to where they need to prepare for something, or they need to watch out, or they need to, something is coming about, then I have to communicate that. I can't hold it back, because all I am is like the messenger. I can't determine what they get to hear and they don't get to hear. That's not my place. I don't get to do that at all.
I see.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Kind of.
I know it's hard to explain. And I was actually gonna do some readings, but obviously this streaming shit just was garbage. So I'll have to prepare for that at a different time. So Elizabeth, how are you able to talk to my grandpa? I know you relay messages to my mom sometimes. Okay, I don't talk to him specifically or all the time.
Which grandpa?
My dad, for Tino.
Okay.
So, go ahead. What are you saying?
Yeah, she has a grandpa on the other side, so I wasn't sure which grandpa.
Yeah, I'm not worried about him. So, I don't talk to him specifically like, okay, my dad's here, I'm talking. That's not how it happens. For me, what it is sometimes, like if I'm talking to my sister or I'm texting her, how it works for me is I will get the feeling of my dad, or I will see like a memory of him, or see him just doing something, and then the message will come through. Like, okay, my sister's stressing, and all of a sudden I see my dad come through, and then I see my dad put his arm up like on her shoulder or something. I can't see who he's putting it on, but I know it's for my sister because that's who I'm talking to. That's who the communication with. So I tell him, I tell her, and I told her before, my dad wants you to know, relax. He's around you and he's constantly there, and he literally puts his hand on his shoulder to reassure you that you're going to be okay and you don't really have anything to worry about, and to stop being so sad so much, right? So that's how I get the messages, but they come sporadic. I don't know when it's going to happen. I can't necessarily, it's not like maybe it's a medium, being a medium a little bit, but I'm not versed enough or experienced enough to say like, oh, I practice mediumship up and down. Tell me who you want to talk to and let's get down. Let's have this party. I'm not there yet, but that's how it comes through for me when I get any messages from him for my sister. Now, the interesting thing is Aisha talks to him. Aisha's never met him. Aisha has no idea who he is, but she can tell me things about him. Apparently, he talks to her often. He visits her often, and they have some sort of spiritual relationship, because she has told me about it without me asking. She will say, did my grandpa do this? Or what does this mean? And it's something in reference to my dad. Yes, we've shared stories, with all the kids about my dad and stuff, but there are often times where it's specific habits or specific traits or specific things that would take place about my dad that she has told me several times. So she has this communication with him that I didn't even know existed. I feel like
Excuse me.
I said I could have just answered the question, but I went on to do all that. Did any of that make sense? I have a difficult time explaining things.
It makes sense, but you drag it on to and answer 77 other different things.
That's what it is. I take the scenic route to everything.
Yeah, that's a perfect description for you. Take the scenic route instead of just following your Google Maps. Just follow the GPS to the answer.
Oh, so there it is, Elizabeth. That's how that goes. Ay, Jesus Maria.
So the whole cleansing thing, I personally I should have got cleansed a long time ago. I should have had some eggs rubbed on me or something. But when I was younger, before I got married, I was in a horrible mind space. I was an angry little fella. It was a whole everything that transpired building up to the ultimate of just not being able to handle everything. So in my opinion, the way I feel is that during that time, a lot more activity was happening around the house because of the negative energies that was shared by everyone, by my mom, you, myself, Marcos, everyone. Even being a little kid, especially being little kids, you can feel the unhappiness and the negativity and from that's vibing off of other people. As I got older, and especially when I married Teresa, and when after her and I split, we got back together, things kind of just disappeared for me. I stopped feeling things around me, not to where I numbed myself from the world, but anything of any paranormal feelings where I had a lot when at my tia's house or at my mama santo's house or at home too. That once Teresa and I mended our lives, and we decided that it was best if we did things together and we lived happily ever after, which we have been. I don't feel the evil or the strong paranormal pull, but I still see things like I did in Seattle. I still hear things, but it's not scary anymore. It's like, hey, the fuck?
Do you know why?
I blame aliens.
Okay. The aliens just came in and sucked out all the creepy stuff. Is that what they did?
Yeah, it's the aliens.
That happened because you raised your vibration. You went from a lower vibration where things, because of the negativity inside of you, and like you said, everything that's happening around us, and you evolved to a place where you decided you were going to make changes in your life, make them for the positive, so that you can move forward. Right? You changed your vibration. You went from a low vibration to a higher vibration. So now that in and of itself is a way of protecting you. Now the creepy stuff and the evil stuff doesn't have as access to you like it did, because you blocked it. You raised your vibration. You took yourself from an open space, like you took yourself from a place where your aura had all these holes in it that things can seep into, a place where you strengthened it, you raised your vibration. Now your aura, it doesn't have any holes in it anymore, so those creepy things can't get in anymore, because the lower your vibration, the more negativity, the more crap, the more creepy stuff and all that you're going to attract. That's how it is.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. Even now, I've been going back and forth on this. Now, do you believe, which I'm pretty sure you do, but for everyone who's listening, do y'all believe that certain, I wouldn't say experiences, but encounters will help you fight or kick habits that aren't good for you? I'm not like a come to Jesus where I almost died, so I have to quit everything to live. So, for example, it's not a secret where I was a huge alcoholic. I drank a lot every day, binged 30, 40, 50, 60 beers on my days off, but I drank every day. I was a big I was a functioning alcoholic. But one day I was watching a UFC fight with Jesse, and this is how I quit alcohol. It's weird. Jesse brought over a 30-pack, and me and him were going to tear it up like we always did. And then I took a drink out of a beer and got so sick where I had to go throw up because it made me ill. Like the taste was so repulsive, it was disgusting. And Teresa asked me if I was drunk, and I said, no, I've only had one beer. And she's like, yeah, okay, because that was my thing. I only had two beers, and I only had one beer, and I had like 47 beers already. But I had one drink of one beer, and it made me sick. And I told Teresa, I'm not drinking anymore. I'm done. She's like, yeah, okay. And I haven't touched it since I was 30 years old. I'm 38 now. That's 8 years ago. Now, I'm sure that has to do with a lot with just over drinking and being sick. That's the regular factor. But do you think like subconsciously there was some sort of entity or some sort of thing that was like, hey man, you're about to die. Stop drinking, fool.
Yes. Yes.
Explain how and why.
It's hard to explain.
Don't take the scenic route.
It's divine timing. I believe in divine timing. The universe is going to bring you whatever experience you need to have at that moment to make changes. If you were in a place where you said you were drinking like crazy, that night could have easily been the night that you died of alcohol poisoning. But you don't know that because you had the experience in which that experience allowed you to, basically it kicked your ass. The universe kicked your ass and said, that's it, you're done. So that's the experience that it gave you. That's the less scenic route I can do. And I don't think you call it subconscious, but I call it spiritual.
So what makes other people that we've had in our family as ignore those?
That's exactly what they do.
Is it just not believing? Is it they don't see the picture? They don't
They
feel it?
haven't learned the
Or
lesson. They haven't allowed themselves to learn the lesson. That's how it is. People, you're going to keep having the same experience over and over and over again until you learn the lesson and you're able to make changes. For example, I don't ever talk about it, but let's take the end of my, a relationship with Aisha's other mom. It ended horribly. And had it not ended the way it did, I would have never left the marriage. And I needed to leave it. It was definitely not for me, or a relationship. We weren't actually legally married, but had it not ended the way it did, I'd still be in this toxic relationship, this horribly toxic relationship. And that I'm glad that I took that experience and I learned it. It was horrible. I went down like this huge, self-destructive, spiraling shithole. And had I not even had that experience, there was no way that I could be where I am now whatsoever. And I'm grateful for the fact that I learned that lesson. Otherwise, I'd still be in the same whole, downward spiral right now. There's no telling. There's no way of saying that I would have ever gotten out of it had I not learned the lesson.
So what made you embrace the path that you're on now and pursuing what you're pursuing, your overall goal? I mean, you the goddess guidance, which is a huge positivity path that you're on. What made you get on that path and embrace it? What kept you on it to where you just blow it off like, eh?
I don't know what made me do it, but it kind of transpired. And here, you're gonna love this. It transpired organically for me. No one forced me into the situation. There wasn't anything where someone said, just come to this with me. You're going to like it. No, I don't want to go. And then I went and I liked it. It was never like that. There was one incident that happened at my house with, Buggy, that experience that she had, just that moment, I said, I can't do this anymore. I cannot continue to fuck myself up because it's affecting my daughter. So that was after the relationship ended and my toxic biological response to the ending of this relationship. So I was in a place now where I was just really super, super scary and toxic and just doing horrible shit. And when I saw how it affected Buggy, I was like, that's it. I'm done. That was it. Never again. And it stopped. It literally, everything stopped for me. I didn't trickle away. I stopped everything. And then from there, because I stopped all that, toxic behavior, I started to see other things that were presenting themselves to my path. All of a sudden, I'm driving down the street and I see, the store. I didn't even know we had a metaphysical shop in town. I saw Enchanted Cottage. I'm like, oh shit! I'm curious as to what's in there. I'm gonna go check it out. And that right there was where it all started. Is when I decided to walk into that store and see what it was all about. That's exactly when everything started, me going onto this path. All of a sudden, I learned about this, and then I met people at the store, and then I started learning what they were doing and where are you at? Oh, what they had to offer. It's like, ever since I stepped in that store, I have been connected to different people and different ways and different paths that ultimately have led me on the path that I am now. When I started there, the path that I started there is nothing to where I am now. I'm in a completely different place because I've learned differently, and not that that's a lot of it's cultural that I learned to embrace, because for a long time I was just Mexican folks just irritated me, but
right.
I've learned, I've grown, and it's just the day I walked into that store just to see what it was about was the day that I literally started the path.
I smell sponsorship.
So Elizabeth says, when we were talking about evolving, she says that was me with my old self, which led me to my higher self is when I started my podcast. So that was a moment for her.
Right, but she's still short. What higher self?
Well, damn.
And just for people who don't know the backstory of the Graveyard Grumbler podcast, that was actually an inspiration for me to start my own podcast, was listening to Elizabeth and her first couple episodes. Knowing that just an average everyday person who just comes from a regular background can start a podcast. You don't have to have this super crazy celebrity following or these big TED Talk bullshit or these CEO type special abilities to start a podcast, that you could just start one.
But here's the thing. You and Elizabeth and me, we are the CEOs of what our creations. I am the CEO of God's Guidance. You're the CEO of Graveyard Grumbler. Elizabeth's the CEO of Life on a, what's the name? Life of an Aspiring Coffee Mom. We are the CEOs of our creations. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but now that we've started, we understood that. But to get started, people have this assumption that you have to be great and have a huge voice to get your voice out there, and you don't.
All it takes is for one person to start listening, and it's gonna just a chain reaction from there.
It's cliche, but all you need is a dream and the will. I mean, I didn't know how to start a podcast. I had zero idea how to start one. Elizabeth told me, "Hey, check out my podcast on Anchor," and I was like, "What the fuck is Anchor?" So I opened it, and I was like, "What the hell? I don't know what this is." She's like, "Yo." Well, she didn't say yo, but Elizabeth talks. She's
I said yo on my commercial.
She said, "You can just start a podcast. It's super easy. All you do is hit record and talk, and you can add this." I'm like, "It's not that easy." And so I put it off, and I was told Teresa, I said, "Look, come me next week. I'm going to do my podcast." Of course, she's just like, "Do it. What are you going to talk about?" And I said, "I don't know, but I'll figure something out that day." So I took out my phone, went into my closet, hit record, and that's how Graveyard Grumbler started.
Did you say you went into your closet?
Yeah, because the acoustics are better. I have a lot better.
Did you put your egg carton things on your wall?
I don't eat eggs, so I don't have egg cartons.
Just take them out and give them to someone and use the egg cartons, the big egg cartons.
I'm not going to supply someone's egg habit. Those things are expensive.
Elizabeth said that's rude from when you called her short. Oh, her podcast. Well, I am a horrible.
It's Crunch Time Coffee.
Yes, I apologize. The name of Elizabeth's podcast. Elizabeth's our niece, by the way. It's the Crunch Time Coffee Talk.
How are you gonna plug the wrong plug?
I know. Which reminds me, Elizabeth, are you gonna start being active on your podcast so that we can start also incorporating you into what we're doing as well?
She says she needs to rebrand so she can
she said,
figure
yes,
out.
You just have to be inspired. Oh yeah, to start the podcast. You guys have talked to me about the podcast, and I don't know. I will eventually do it, but I think that I'm gonna start YouTube because I like doing this. You know how I don't know if Elizabeth does it too, but I know for a fact that you are a planner. You do your research. You fill your notebook and you write. I am opposite to that. I have to just go with it intuitively and just. It'll come to me. I trust the process that when it's time to talk about something, it's going to come to me and exactly what I need to talk about is going to come up. That's why when you said, well, what's the outline? I'm like, oh, well, shit, I got to make something up because I don't do outlines.
Yeah, I have to have an outline. I can't just go blind. And
I can because to me, it just comes to me when it comes to me.
I'm for everyone who's listening, how many are paying attention. Unfortunately, you will never see me on a video other than live streaming with you or being invited by someone. I'll never have my own video channel. I don't like video. I don't like posting video. I like the podcast where it's just me, the mic, and my editing software. I don't like seeing myself in video. And I mean, have you ever watched that movie Talladega Nights?
Yeah.
It's like, what do I do with my hands? I don't know what to...
See, and I'm more of a visual person. I talk with my hands, so I'm constantly doing this without even realizing it.
Yeah. And plus, I don't want to edit video.
See, I don't edit anything. Okay. I like doing lives because once it's out, That's it, right? But I don't ever pre-record anything because I don't want to edit. I wouldn't even know what the heck to edit out. I wouldn't even know. To me, I just put it out there.
I just strictly podcast unless I'm invited by someone else. And
we will definitely be doing these more often, at least once or twice a month, or once every month, or once every 2 months.
Yeah, come on, people. We have to build a cult following.
The Romero family cult.
Yeah, it'll take off.
Elizabeth says yes, she has an episode in mind for Afterbirth. That sounds gross, but you should reword that, and move over to Podbean.
Definitely Podbean.
Yes. Elizabeth,
shout out Podbean.
Elizabeth, you know what Afterbirth is? You should not say that.
That's all the gooey stuff that's put in the tray and the bags.
It's gross. So yeah, and once she gets started on that, we're going to start incorporating her into that as well. And like I said, I'm using this streaming software now. I can add more people. It's going to look weird like this, but it's okay. It's okay. We'll figure it out.
It doesn't look weird on my end. All I see is you.
On my end, I see us both, but it's literally like the picture of my entire web browser. So at the top, it sees like my tabs open and what's on the top. Good thing I'm not looking
You
at porn.
can you maximize that stuff?
Well, I tried to, but I couldn't take out I couldn't crop it at all. So
Oh
oh,
yeah, that's
see,
too much
Elizabeth
work.
says she uses she used to have an outline, but it sounded scripted, so she stopped doing it. Oh, the gardeners are here.
You don't. That's the thing. I don't script. I bullet point. I have certain topics that I'm going to touch on. Like I don't even have my notebook with me right now, but it's like the Antichrist. Who are they? Okay, you write the definition and you put it in your own words. Like for what I do is I read the actual definition so I can not fuck that part up,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll give my own take on it, on exactly what the Antichrist is and what I think it is.
I like the way you do your podcast because I could tell that you're doing it from a knowledgeable perspective and not just from a fly by the seat of your pants, which there's nothing wrong with that. But
No.
I like that you come from a more knowledgeable perspective.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't. The last thing I want is for someone, even if I give false information or wrong information, call me out. But I'd rather give wrong information than not knowing what the hell I'm talking about at all. If I misread something or misquote something, fine, call me out. But if it's better than, well, the Antichrist was actually made by the BBC, and Walt Disney picked up the Antichrist and developed it as gummy bears. They're like, the fuck are you talking about? It's
Yes.
better to get little small details wrong versus the entire point of what you're saying, unless that's what you're pointing to the podcast. But I can't do. I'm not. I'm a creature of habit, so I have to have certain things, which is weird because I was looking at my report card and I failed fucking every topic ever.
Oh, you got the stuff Mom sent you?
Yeah, I got the stuff, and I was showing the kids how horribly I did when I decided that I was going to rebel and not graduate. I was going to go work, and my grades showed it. I got a 0.56 GPA. I don't know how I got kicked out of that. Yeah, by choice. It had nothing to do with ignorance or not being able to learn. It was just because I didn't feel like it. I was all about sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Literally, quite
Yeah,
literally. So well,
and then
go ahead.
when we were talking about the ignoring signs and everything about that, you remember that family member who was possessed by a demon. I don't remember his name, and I wish I did.
I think it was Quali.
Was it Quali? I thought it was Johnny.
Could have been. I don't know. It was one of them. I
It-
know
it was
Quali
one
was
of them.
most recently. Don't quote me on that, but I think most recently it was Quali, and I don't know exactly when. I don't
Yeah.
know if we're supposed to be sharing that, but let's skip the name part and just keep going.
Oh, censor. Beep.
Yes.
We're going to change the name for identity protection. Call him Jim.
Jim. So Jim.
So when Jim was possessed by the devil, I wanted to go see.
Me too.
I wanted the firsthand experience of seeing the actual possession, not assuming that it was going to be just like the TV versions of it. I knew it wasn't going to be anything like that. However, we were not shunned, but kept away at all costs, and the conversation was real mums. Mum's the word that you can't. It was a secret code that you had to know to even talk about the damn subject. And being in our house, it was easy to eavesdrop. You can eavesdrop real easy on the. So, what steps do you think that was taken for whatever demon? Because that's what possessed. I mean, you're possessed by a demon. You're not possessed by the fuzzy good bears. So, what steps did my mom and others take to prevent the latch?
Where is everybody? Hello? What does it say? Connection was lost. There was a problem with the network. Okay. Well, it looks like we got to wrap it up because we got cut off. Let's see if we can call him back.
You're there? I'm there.
Oh, you are? Oh, okay. My
here.
bad. I don't have a picture of you.
I can see you.
Okay. Well, we can't see you. I didn't hear anything you said after. What steps will they take to prevent the latching? That's the last thing I heard.
That's what I said.
Oh, I thought
What
you were
steps?
talking more.
Well, what steps did they take to prevent latching on to them and bringing it back to themselves and
You have to
us?
do your personal protection. You have to, number one, you shouldn't be over there anyway, but you have to do your personal protection. You have to do those things that keep you safe and that keep your spiritual bubble from being infiltrated. Now
So,
remember, someone that was possessed, most likely, and I'm not saying for certain, most likely, like you mentioned before, were in a low vibrational space.
so the what credentials did the people that were dealing with Jim have to give them the opportunity to fight the possession? Because, excuse me, from my understanding, from what I've read, was that only the holiest of holiest who've been trained to fight the possession have the ability to do so, or only a priest. Not, I mean, I think very rare cases are demonologists allowed to get into that fight. But what do average ladies and what abilities did they have to where they were able to fight it and be safe and protect themselves? I mean, I would have set them on fire, but that's just me.
Credentials don't, I can't speak on credentials because it's not like you go to the school of, cleansing auras. And I mean, there's people do the stuff online, the certifications, but realistically, the stuff, from my perspective, is kind of useless. I don't care that you have a certificate. I need to know if you can take care of this. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this credentials, I can't even say that really it matters, but it's experience. A lot of experience. People learn things, they experiencing things. Sometimes they fail, sometimes they succeed, but they're learning from those experiences, and that's what makes them qualified. Now, just because, for example, my mom is a curandera, she always has been. She doesn't like it. She doesn't really like to dabble into her spiritual gifts, but she's getting better about it now that we're all doing it together. But that's just who she is. So she can help when it comes to cleansing. And if the three of us do it together, it's even more powerful and it's more successful, or it's more, what's the word? It lasts longer, maybe, is what I'm trying to say. But there's no credentials. It's just from experience. Experience makes you qualified. And knowledge. Some, just because, say Sarah hasn't done 500 of them, but she knows how to help, that makes her qualified.
Hmm.
There aren't any. You know what's weird? They can see you on the stream, but I can't see you on my screen.
Oh, well, that's good. I guess
Yeah.
I should stop making faces.
Down. Yeah, so it's not a matter of credentials, it's a matter of experience, is what it comes down to.
Well, that's not the answer I was hoping for.
What kind of answer were you wanting?
Maybe they were undercover priestesses and they had the power of Christ to compel them. I mean, that's this.
You
We
don't
want
have to have you
theatrics.
don't have to have a title to have the power of Christ work with you.
I know that now,
Yeah, you don't have to
but
have a title.
for live streaming purposes, wouldn't it be that much more? Like a superhero landing, and don't worry, no te preocupas, I vengo. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
It.
what difference is a messy vengas if you don't know what you're doing with the title? That could be the high priestess of the entire world, or a specific, spiritual path. But if I don't know what I'm doing, what difference does it make? And granted, I probably wouldn't have gotten or been initiated to the title of high priestess if I didn't know what I was doing. But in terms of like everyday occurrences or when something happens, most people aren't initiated into those in terms of like where we live. But aside from, taking the scenic route, you don't really need a title to do what you need to do to
I've
help.
been lied to.
You've been
I've been
lied
lied
to?
to. Yeah, the
Probably.
books and TVs.
Probably. Because
I
that's
don't like
who
it.
says why is it that a priest gets to have more of a relationship with God than I do? Who said that? Why am I less than? And that's not the case. That's not a true
Well, yeah,
story.
yeah, and it's the whole reason why I'm not religious.
Yeah, religion is interesting, and not in a good way.
What would it take for someone very close to us, related? I'm not going to say any names, but like a brother, but is our brother, would have to do to get rid of whatever's latched on and drags him down? Because there's times where he's on the up, and the best thing, there's times where you can tell he's just being drained by something.
Well, number one, it would a cleansing of himself first, his person, and then you'd have to do a cleansing on the whole house and everybody inside the house, because there's no point in cleansing him and he's good, but then you got people around him that are still in a bad place. because now it's just it defeats the purpose completely. So you got to cleanse him, the people inside the house, and then his entire space. If it continues to happen, then we have to come in with something a little bit more aggressive, and that's something that, depending on what it is, the tools will be a little bit different, but it can still happen. But in order for it to be effective, number one, he has to believe, and he also has to have his own upkeep with making sure that he keeps the low vibrational shit from around him.
Do you believe or agree that a rebaptizing is a cure-all?
Nope.
I didn't think so. I didn't even think the original baptism was a thing.
The reason for original baptism is weird to me. But
yeah, it's to cleanse the evil of a brand new kid. It's brand new. That's no thing in the world.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's a money grab.
But I baptized my daughter, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're all baptized. All of my kids are baptized. In my podcast, in the episode of the Antichrist, I share the horrible, horrible, horrible confirmation experience we went through at the church.
Mexico? Good God!
Yeah.
The 6-hour church that we had to stand in.
Yeah, I told on the episode that I believe I went in there when I was about 8 or 9, and I came out when I was 15.
Seriously, that was the worst.
I believe, and I didn't even understand what was going on until we got out. And there's fireworks, and we were confirmed.
Yep. I don't know what we're confirmed into. Like, what did we need to confirm? Like, what was in question that we needed confirmation?
Yeah, I don't get those whole steps. So, the next reason why I brought that up was because stereotypically the possessions happen to really religious people or over religious nuts. Now, do you think that is misguided? Or not misguided. Is it false, or is it like Elizabeth's case? Not saying that she's going to be possessed, but where I don't see the demon. But on the opposite side is I really want to be possessed because I want to know if it's real. So they invite it in, rather it be being religious that kind of walk hand in hand with each other.
I've wondered the same thing too, and I don't understand that part at all.
Yeah,
I don't understand it, because if someone is so spiritual, what was it about them that invited the opportunity for that to happen? I don't understand it either. But at the same time, it's like after those experiences, those people now have the knowledge to help other people in the same situation. I don't know if it's for the purpose of, becoming a mentor or a professional or an expert in it. But, I mean, that's a really effed up way to do that, It's like you could have just gave them a book or something. You didn't have to take their soul and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand that just yet. I don't understand that. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that.
Someone's at your door.
Girl, you scared the shit out of me. I heard it pop open, but I didn't see anybody. Good thing you were looking out. What do you need, babe?
The air feels so good in here.
Oh. Are you done painting?
No.
What's wrong?
I'll just come in.
Well, we're live, just so you know.
Okay.
What's wrong?
The air.
Oh, okay.
It's good.
So, I talked about your creepy experiences, your creepies in the washroom, your crawlers in your room, and the lady that watched you roast your marshmallow and wouldn't leave you alone. I talked about all that, and I showed pictures. So, yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know it at all. I can't even see what's going on. My feed froze, but Elizabeth said that she can still see us.
Yeah, I can see everything perfectly fine.
Awesome. So, we've been on for an hour and a half now. Is there anything else that you want to add before we wrap it up?
An hour and a half? We've been on? Oh, I was like, we're almost on for 2 hours.
We're on for an hour and a half.
Yeah, I forgot. You and I have been on for quite some time figuring it out. The only thing that I would like to add. See, now I have a platform. Now it's my time.
This is the stage. Dance.
With the whole podcast is I don't put my podcast out to be serious. I don't put it out to be like I'm a know-all. I put it out there to have fun. If anybody who has listened to it or is curious on listening to it, you're gonna laugh, you're gonna cringe, you're gonna shake your head, and you're gonna stare at your whatever device you're listening to on like, what the fuck is he talking about? That is the whole purpose of my podcast, is to just to break whatever routine and mundane task that you're doing, just for that brief, even if I catch it just for about 5 seconds, if I can get your mind off of whatever is going in and give you a little bit of whatever different emotion you're having at that time, then I've succeeded in my show.
Yes.
That is my whole thing of my podcast. That's why I choose the topics. I could have gone into motivational. I could have gone into sports. I could have gone into straight music, but I didn't. I chose taboo topics that people are curious about, but don't really want to do the research for themselves. And so I throw that out there. The paranormal, like I mentioned on one of my episodes lately, I've been so interested in extraterrestrial. Do I believe in aliens? Of course. We can't be the only life form in the world, in this universe. There's no way possible. Yeah, I mean, there's no possible way. But I talk about it to where I joke around, I crack jokes, I make it interesting and fun because I'm learning just with everyone else when I'm sharing the conversation. So unfortunately, if you want to listen to it going to church on Sunday with the rest of your kids while you're eating Chick-fil-A, you can't do that unless your kids don't, or you don't mind your kids listening to cuss words, because I talk in my podcast the way I talk in real life. I cuss, I use bad innuendos, I throw crude jokes. I don't do racist jokes at all. That's not what I do on podcasts. I keep that out, so you don't have to worry about getting racially abused. But I do cuss. I do say off-color jokes. I do throw innuendos out there. So, but that's because I'm myself. I'm just being myself, and the audience that I'm trying to reach, I want to just everyday house moms, everyday people that are going out to work. I'm not looking for the blue-collar professional. The white-collar professional. If the white-collar professionals listen to my podcast, then hell yeah, man. Escape whatever you're doing and listen to me for a few minutes. That's great. But it's actually, I see it as a family fun show. A lot of people won't agree with me, but
my family listens to it.
Yeah, my family listens to it. I know a few other families that listen to it, but it's because I try to keep it as realistic as possible and not use crazy-ass words that I've heard. I can't be boring. I can't do the whole... like I joked around earlier, radio edit. I can't do it. That's not who I am, and that's not. If I ever did that, I would be selling out. And speaking of selling out, I actually got offered to be a part of a podcasting network and be promoted by this huge paranormal podcaster, and he tells me, hey, dude, your sound is great, your voice is great, your cadence is great, what you talk about is awesome, but I can't help you out if you continue to cuss.
Oh, that's
and I said, okay. And he's also, what I'm offering is that I can promote you on my show, I can do whatever you want, but in order to do that, you're going to have to go back and re-edit all of your shows and take out the cursing and change how you are. And I said, it's never going to happen. I'm not going to sell out. I can't. And I told him, I said, I'm not something that I'm not. I'm not going to change me cussing. I'm not going to change the stuff I talk about and the way I talk about it. It's not going to happen. I appreciate the offer, but that's selling out. I can't sell out to appease the masses. I'd rather have a small following and be realistic with all my people versus having a multi-thousand following and be fake.
Yep, I agree.
So if you listen to my show, I'll never be fake. I'll always be who I am. If you ever meet me in person, which a lot of my family already knows me, and a lot of people, friends, but if you ever meet me, my listeners who don't know me, the way I am on my show is the way I am in real life. I don't change.
True story.
It's exactly who I am. But like right now, the way that I am on live is the way I'm on my podcast. The way I am in real life. I don't change.
So for everyone out there, your website is, your podcast is Graveyard Grumbler. What else is it? Say it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
GraveyardGrumbler.podbean.com.
Yes.
But if you don't want to go to my website, I'm on almost every major platform out right now. I'm on Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify,
That's awesome.
Apple, Radiocast, Overcast, Google Podcast. I think I'm on Radio Public as well. But I'm on like 8 different platforms. So if you go into your favorite platform, which usually is Spotify, Google, Stitcher, and Apple, I'm in there. You can pull me up. Or if you don't want to look through it, just Google my name. Google Graveyard Grumbler Podcast, and you can just listen to my show.
It'll come up.
Yeah, I'm Googler now. That's fucking awesome. I never
That's
thought
awesome.
I'd be a Googler.
That's awesome. So get out there and listen to this podcast. It is awesome. It's funny. It's realistic. It's knowledgeable. It is fantastic. And for me, you can contact me at my website. It's my business page is Goddess Guidance. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. My website is Anna, ANNA, Romero.com. And you'll just go visit my page. I have a blog up there. I have some services to offer, and go check it out and see what's up. Go check us both out. You might learn something. You might enjoy it. And I hope that you guys come back around and visit us often and frequently, because we'll definitely be doing some lives again in the future. Okay?
Yep. And feel free to email me or message me anywhere and anywhere that you can think of, and let me know if you want me to do a special episode. I have no problem.
That is very true. You can contact me as well, so we can talk with each other and see what's up. Chit chat a little bit. So again, thank you everyone so much for being here. We apologize for the technical difficulty. This computer shit, this streaming shit is garbage, but we figured it out. Not that great, but we got up and going. So again, thank you for being patient. Thank you for joining us and coming to hang out with us even an hour after it was supposed to be. I hope that you guys have enjoyed us. You guys have enjoyed our stories, and you guys take time out to reach out to us. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we go?
Good morning, good day, good night.
That's it.
Goodbye.
See you guys later. Bye.